Mystery school always brought it back to empowerment. Always brought it back to choice. Always brought it back to, in some way I still can't explain to this day, brought it back to the importance of being myself.
Things just started making sense on a very meta level about questions I'd had and experiences I'd had, kind of all fitting into one framework.
When someone is ready for this path, they've woken up that spark, that flame inside of themselves to know that there's more. And then it's just a matter of how much do they want it.
I've never met a group of people that's more in tune and dedicated to not only personal mastery, but also community level mastery and doing service for others and being in joy. And whenever issues arise, because we have these tools, we're able to more quickly get through conflict in a beautiful, transmutative way that is just inspiring. And I am just inspired by the people around me on a consistent basis. And it's just amazing over the years to watch people create their lives and bring others along with them, to be in joy and to be in service.
We are wired to become better than we are today. We are wired to realize something bigger than what we know in our minds in this moment.
I'm Logan Yonavjak, and I'm a financial services professional.
So my name's Jordan Bain, and I'm from Boston originally, and I also run Modern Mystery School at Boston. I'm an international Kabbalah teacher now, graduated from some of the more advanced programs like the School of Mage, Advanced Magic, and Self-Healing. I've been teaching and doing spiritual work even since before I found the Modern Mystery School, and it was always just a calling for me. When I was like 3, 4, 5 years old, people would ask me, like family members, or a teacher in school in kindergarten, like, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I would say, I want to be a wizard. I want to use magic. I want to create magic in my life. And people were like, oh, that's cute. You'll grow out of that. I don't think I'm going to grow out of that.
Why did I start doing this work? My goal was to create a more livable planet for humans. And I do care a lot about the natural world. I grew up in North Carolina, and my mom is an evolutionary biologist by training.
Why do you disappear?
The impetus of my interest in the environment came from growing up in North Carolina. I would drive around during high school and the start of college, and I saw a lot of strip malls. And I thought they were crap. I just thought malls everywhere and gas stations and all of that just was a really low-level way to use land. And I started asking myself, why does it make more economic sense for us to build this way rather than have and maintain open space and working lands? So I went into college with this question and have been trying to answer it ever since.
I had studied all these different subjects in college, and none of them, I didn't bite in any of those subjects. Theater, anthropology, religion, but none of them really spoke to me deeply. I tried a lot of activism as well. I led the Environmental Activist Coalition for a year at my college. And we tried to really bring more awareness to social issues and environmental issues. And I felt so angry and frustrated after both being a part of that for a year and then trying to lead it for another year. And it was like, for what? Well, what were we even doing? I was so angry. I was so aware of all these issues in the world that were going on. I was aware of, how much they were being ignored by people that I perceived to be in positions of power. People like government officials or people running different corporations. And I came to sort of this activist ideology that, there were these other people over there somewhere who had more power than me, and they were the problem. And that was completely disempowering for myself. I hit a wall with all those systems.
Traditionally, environmental work has happened through activism. So people going to marches and protests and things like that, going against things in large degree. But in large part, you're still seeing the same pattern of environmental destruction and degradation. So one of the first things I discovered being in the environmental movement, I'll put that in large quotation marks, was that there were a lot of people that were very well-meaning and well-intentioned about what they wanted to see in the world, but didn't necessarily understand economics, finance, basic business. And so we're running into a lot of underfunded sort of martyrdom mentality around trying to affect large-scale environmental changes without necessarily taking into account these larger systems.
I mean, I studied a lot of other things too. I studied urban planning, trying to create like affordable housing solutions for, what do we do with the real problems of Earth? Like, how do we handle that? I hesitate to use the word problem because those things, creating a housing development, studying urban planning issues, studying climate change, studying environmental toxicity and pollution, those are real problems. And they really need to be solved. How? How are we going to solve those problems?
I was starting to see that we need market forces, we need the capital markets, we need business leaders to care, we need investors to care. Basically, money needs to move. And when I understood that the capital markets were largely psychological, that's when I started recognizing that some of my inherent interest in people could come alive through finance. My theory of change is that it's not just about presenting new investment opportunities, it is about that, but it's also about changing the actual hearts and vision of these investors. When I was younger, I found the work of Carl Jung and was really taken by and impressed with his understanding and theories around the unconscious and the collective consciousness and that work. So I was pretty convinced early on that the conscious mind is the tip of the iceberg, and that there are tools out there where you can access different states of awareness within people, and that's a more effective way to change people's minds than just talking to them. I've been on this journey since high school to better understand human psychology and spirituality. I've tried a number of different things, including my personal journey into psychology. I actually co-authored a book on parapsychology in my college years with a professor from Boston University. And so I learned all about extrasensory perception and psychokinesis and all these other skills that humans have. And so I was just looking for a way to integrate the work that I was doing with some powerful tools that could be brought in, because I don't think more white papers, research papers, and reports is really going to move the needle at this point.
It seems silly to think, well, I'm going to do some meditation and solve that problem. It's like, well, that's great. You feel peaceful, dude, but whatever. That's nice that you feel peaceful. Yeah, maybe you can then take a better action because you feel peaceful, but I think one of the problems is in the world, if we go big, if we pull the focus out really big, is that we've got the world made up of 7.5 billion people, and most of them don't know what they're doing. Most of them, maybe they think they know what they're doing, or they went to college and they got a degree, or they got a master's, or they got a doctorate, so that they really think they know what they're doing. They think, and they've thought hard and long about how will I make the best impact. I think there's a lot of really good-hearted people who want to make a positive impact. And I saw that everywhere I went, especially in college. My college was filled with really well-meaning students and professors and administrators who all wanted to make the world, in some way a better place in the image that they saw in their own mind. And the problem, if I'm going to put that in quotes, the problem with that is that they didn't know themselves. And they're the ones creating the world. I'm the one creating the world the way it is. So if I see a problem in the world, but I'm not willing to look inside, according to spiritual teachings, which I later received with the Modern Mystery School, but which I did not understand at the time, but sort of was finding my own way into through trial and error, I realized I'm not going to change the world if I don't change myself. It's just not going to be possible. Because I'm part of the world. I'm part of the equation. I'm part of the equation.
I got to meet some of the largest families in the US in terms of wealth concentration. I've had a lot of conversations with really intelligent people. I went to grad school at Yale. There's a lot of people that are very accomplished and set on a pretty amazing path in their lives. And so I think I experienced the creme de la creme of our intellectual society. And yet a lot of people are still searching for something that they're not getting in a very pinnacle aspect of our society. And so in conversations with people in grad school, I found it interesting. I heard a lot of people's stories in these extremely privileged positions often, where they were still seeking something beyond themselves and they hadn't found it yet. So when I found the mystery school, I got really excited about the tools available.
This mystery school was shown to me over and over again in different forms. I read about it in a magazine, I found it online. One of my friends came over for a dinner party and was like, "Oh my God, you should be studying in the mystery school." And so I finally went and I got life activated, I did galactic activation, I did initiation, and within a period of just a few weeks, a few months, my life was so different in such a better way. I had so much less fear. I had so many more things that I just found myself knowing, whereas maybe before I got initiated, I hoped that things would go better in my life. I hoped for a better future. I hoped to create goodness. I hoped to be in connection with myself more deeply. And I did a lot of spiritual practices like meditation and yoga and qigong and working with my intuitive abilities. And all those things were all good, but there was more. And initiation really opened that door and showed me how much more I could be and how much more I could do. And not with some teacher in my face every day. The mystery school is not like you show up every single day at the mystery school and you're like, okay, I'm ready to study in the mystery school. Here I am at Modern Mystery School Boston in the classroom, looking at a whiteboard or a PowerPoint or listening to a teacher. This is something where in my life every day, I'm more connected. I'm more plugged in. I have more awareness and guidance. And it's something incredibly mystical and magical and powerful. The path of initiation itself, I got that initiation in July 2005. By August 2005, a month later, I had left my job. I was traveling to California. I was doing things I thought I would never do, things that had scared me my whole life. And I was just embracing them with joy. How was that? Something about the initiation itself had shifted my energy. My energy structure itself was transformed simply through someone hitting me on the head with a sword. That made no sense to me. And I knew it was the initiation, but I almost couldn't admit to myself at first it was the initiation. But there was no other explanation to why I now was able to make decisions. It's like my light got stronger than my fear through initiation. And it's just how, why, I don't know, it did. It just did. Like fear used to run my life. All the things I was saying about like being an activist and, trying to heal myself and trying to make the world a better place. Like I was afraid that the world wasn't going to be a good place, or the world was going to go downhill, or that I was going to, hit up against some difficulty or pain or trauma, or maybe I was running from pain and trauma in my past. None of that trauma that we go through is going to help us, live our life. And if we don't deal with it, we're not going to live our life. We're going to stay at a lower level of consciousness. And the path of initiation opened me up to heal all my trauma in a manageable way, in divine timing, basically, like in the right time, to like get over myself, to get over my stuff, to get over the ways that I felt lonely or isolated or angry or scared. Those things had run my life up until the day I got initiated. Despite doing all these other spiritual systems, those things had a hold on me in my life. And somehow, even though it wasn't all healed the day I got initiated, the tables turned the day I got initiated. And the pain or the trauma or the fear or the anger or the loneliness, those things didn't have a hold on me anymore.
What I distinctly remember about Empower Thyself was how I felt when I went in and how I felt when I went out. And what I remember in a most pronounced way was that after I left the initiation, I decided to go on a run around the Charles River, and I felt this very distinct sense of a lot more energetic support than I'd ever had. It just felt uplifting and like I had more of a tailwind. Like things were just more alive. I've always been attuned to serendipity, so once I started using these tools, I just found that the serendipity was just starting to really take off in my life. I had for years wanted to go to the Yale MBA program, and I got waitlisted. And that was pretty devastating because it was like all the signs were pointing to me going there. I had been like, I would walk down the street and say this mantra to myself, I'm getting into business school, I'm in business school. I created this whole story. And I got initiated. Long story short, I got in like right after I got initiated, got a scholarship and then a fellowship for this environmental program I wanted to do. And it was just so uncanny how I was waitlisted, and then as soon as I got initiated, I got invited to join the program. Like, I don't see any other tools really that could be as effective as what I've experienced in the mystery school, especially to meet Kabbalah. I found that when I entered the Tree of Life in the Kabbalah study program through the Modern Mystery School, things just started making sense on a very meta level about questions I'd had and experiences I'd had, kind of all fitting into one framework. As I've gone down the path, I realized, it very much is a living framework, so there's nothing static about it.
Still to this day, I cannot tell you why that is. I don't know how initiation works. And I have initiated over 600 people. I've trained hundreds of people in healers academies internationally. I've taken hundreds of people through the universal Kabbalah system. I don't know how it works. And that's amazing. That's why it's a mystery school. There are energetic keys. There are teachings that are not just in the mind. You can't just lay it out on a whiteboard or in a PowerPoint and say, this is how this works. There's magic to it that I don't believe we're ever going to really capture, but I don't think we're ever going to be able to put it into words exactly. And that's I think one of the greatest mysteries.
How are the tools? Why is this different? It's just a tough thing because I feel like it's so energetic. Like how I've experienced all of this, how it's different. I really liked how Obsessimus Dave talked about the administration of the light. So I think in a lot of other modalities that I've tried, there is either too strict of a set of rules or it's too loosey-goosey. And I think that magic and alignment require both. I would say the mystery school is the most balanced approach I've ever come across. And I think even Buddha said that, the middle way is the way. And I think sometimes you have to find your way going back and forth, but the mystery school shortcuts it a bit if you're willing to really do the work and participate. If you're really willing to do the work and really are listening to what they're teaching, I think you find the middle way more quickly.
We have to have a way of doing that. And if that way is left to our ego, then it isn't a way. Because the ego is not a system. The ego is a reactive tool. It is not a way of living. So, like we said a couple days ago, if one wants to be free, one needs discipline. If you want to live a free life, you have to be disciplined. Freedom is not waking up and doing whatever you want. You think it is, but what it does is it creates mass limitation and prevents you from living a successful life. Freedom is waking up and having a way of living that is superior to the state of the ego, so that in doing that, you arrive at a higher state of being. So we have to have a way.
I would say it's magic. But I think people's conception of magic can be charged, so this is a tough question. What is true magic?
I'll default to one of the definitions in the mystery school that magic is to create something out of nothing, which, science would say is impossible. Goes against the laws of thermodynamics. You don't create something out of nothing, but we do. We do somehow, as infinite beings, as eternal beings, we take energy from the infinite, from nothingness, and we make something happen with it in our lives. So that's magic to me. We're literally creating things that other people would say are impossible. Works.
They've relegated magic to this other realm of movies and, magic shows and things like that. And true magic is not something that's on their radar. I think when you're doing it for the highest good and you get in sync with the river, you can start directing it. It's like we're always in this potentiality, every moment's potential, and then magic is taking it and directing it to something from your node of consciousness, using assistance from a variety of other places, but it's really about you acting as more of a conductor rather than a passive acceptor of reality. It's like turning into an active participant. I think the universe starts working in your favor when you start clearing out and start remembering who you are. I think these tools really, at their core, are helping us remember who we really are, which is God.
How did God and magic coincide? This is a central point of tension for me growing up because my mother was almost like Wiccan or pagan. in her spiritual practices of life, and maybe Wiccan, pagan, Buddhist, or something she has sort of cobbled together. And my dad, studied at seminary, and we went to church every Sunday, and he taught my Sunday school for like 8 or 9 years. And so I was like, how do God and magic connect? And I didn't really even think of them as different until I got out into the world and realized that a lot of people see those things as opposite. That a lot of people who say they believe in God would say magic is of the devil, or it's evil, or it's not real. And definitely the society I was growing up in, we're like, yeah, science is real and magic is not real. And I think science is real, and I know magic is real. And yeah, I wouldn't even say I think science is real. I know science is real, and I know magic is real. They're both real. And God is real. I don't think God and magic have ever really been separate. So we talk about God a lot in the mystery school, and we say many things about God. God is infinite light or source, great creative power, creative energy, infinite will, light, love. God is spirit. God is eternal. We say that God is both masculine and feminine, which is the thing that's very healing for a lot of people to hear, because we've had so much patriarchal religion for the last 5,000 years on the planet. We say that God, is both like a spiritual parent to us as humans, but is also something that we are in process of becoming. Who and what is God, and how is that related to magic? To me, it's one thing. To me, all magic comes from God and is God, and I don't care what word you use for God. It doesn't matter. Like, you use any name for God, but we're all talking about one thing. And God is definitely found within humans. I mean, there's lots of evil and negativity found within humans as well. But humans have this like seed or spark of God within us, and that is our magic. That is where our magic comes from. And that's the thing I found in the mystery school that I've never found anywhere else, is really knowing that. Like, there's books and there's words and there's teachers, and they can say those words. It's something in the mystery school, we live it, we have it, we are it. And no other system brought that right to me, handed that to me, and was like, this is who you are. And I rejected it for years, or I wanted to embrace it, but I couldn't fully accept it for years. And then as I progressed in the mystery school, and as I did more levels of initiation, it simply became the reality. It went from being something I couldn't really handle at first, to something I was wrestling with, to something that sounded good and I really wanted, to then to eventually just like, yes, that's me. Of course that's me. And then that's coming in waves and waves over time, and bringing more and more joy, and bringing more and more empowerment, and bringing more and more of these higher keys and energies and teachings to do something with it. Because saying that God is real or God exists is one thing, but then living as an infinite being in an infinite sea of potential, and actually creating specific things that you really want and desire in your life from goodness, that are going to serve humanity, that are going to serve yourself, that are going to serve people around you, that are expressions of love and joy, that's so rewarding. It sounds a little unusual that we could teach something like that. How do you learn the secrets of the universe? You can't learn them really from a book. We have them handed down in the mystery school, but the teachers in the mystery school are not ascended masters or enlightened gurus. They have received these teachings from their teachers in a previous generation, handed down, teacher to student, and then those things have become their life. They live those things in their life. Their lives are filled with that magic. And one of the keys to accessing higher and higher magic is to do service.
I think you have to get yourself situated before you can help others, and I think the mystery school gives you a lot of tools to do a lot of self-healing and remembering of who you are, and the fact that you are a creator God, and that you can affect reality, and that you're an active participant in that. And then you realize that you have this overflow of desire to help other people, and that it's no fun without everyone else coming along too. I mean, who wants to be a creator by themselves and not have those that are with them be in joy and be in that journey with them, not have a home to do it in?
And the service we say in the mystery school is reminding someone else that they are God. reminding someone else that their true nature. And that is a really, really hard job, because that's a tough pill to swallow for people, because we are trained by everything in this world that that's not true. And so to be a spiritual guide in the mystery school is to constantly keep showing up and loving people from our hearts so that they remember, because they don't remember because we said the words, I am God. Those words alone don't wake somebody up. They have to feel truly cared for. They have to feel loved. And they don't just feel loved by their guide or by other students in the mystery school, but they start to connect with the love that's inside themselves.
So much potential within the self to do more with yourself.
And so a guide is always sending people back to themselves. He's always sending people back to their own heart and being like, it's not the school that has the answer. It's not Jordan that has the answer. It's not anyone else in your life that has the answer either. Like, your spouse doesn't have the answer. Your parents don't have the answer. That PhD that you got doesn't have the answer. The organizations that you're part of don't have the answer. Like, you have the answer. I think deep down inside, and this is why I think religion has such a big appeal all around the world, we want to be saved. We want someone or something to come in and save us or tell us like what's going to make us have a better life. And in the mystery school, we're like, no, you're going to make you have a better life. And what is the better life you want to live? I don't know. It's up to you. And it's like, wow, okay, well, if it's in my hands, I'm going to need some tools. And those tools are found in the school. And those tools are something you can go back to again and again and again. Rituals, meditations, prayer. Why do we even study these things? Because they have ancient mystical power, and they work, and they're universal, and they will have their ancient and their future and their now. And it's one thing. They're tools that work.
And so these tools have done the best job of that, of anything I've tried, hands down. There's just so much, like over the years, I just go back and I'm like, gosh, there's so many insights and just so much to share. And it always feels like it falls into these like 5 words: amazing, oh wow, it's joyful. But I feel like you have to try it. You have to try yourself. What I love about the mystery school, go try it, see if it works for you. It's empirical. It's based on your life experience, and then you start seeing changes, and then the people around you start shifting too, and it's just a really exciting place to be. I don't know what else to say. Like, go try it,
Peace is who you are when there's nothing else standing in the way. Peace is when you know not everything, but you know everything you need to know for today, to do what you need to do today. What does need to do mean? I don't know that for somebody else. But every day I use these tools to find peace in myself, because there is something I need to do every day. And every day it's different. So having the right tools to find what I need to do today, and to find the right frequency and emotion and thought that's going to go into my day today, to put the right energies into today, that's magic, that's divinity, that's peace.